Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for practice owners and leaders, where we are obsessed with how to build a successful practice and get a life too. Hi, I'm Chuck Blakeman, and we're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time, get off the treadmill, and rehumanize dentistry by giving everybody their brain back. Today, we're going to talk with Dr. Peter Boulden, who's been practicing dentistry for over 15 years and has built a very successful fee-for-service 3-location enterprise in Atlanta, where he was raised and he's lived his entire life. He knows smiles have been the power to change lives. He's transformed more than 1,200 of them with one of the most credentialed cosmetic dentist practices in the world. Recognized in the greater Atlanta area as the go-to dentist for high-end cosmetic procedures, Dr. Boulden is the dental professional of choice for celebrities, athletes, and prominent community leaders. Dr. Boulden, it's great to have you on our podcast.
Thanks, Chuck. Glad to be here.
You bet, man. We're looking forward to talking. Today, we're going to emphasize marketing. You're the marketing guru. I heard you say once, I'm a dentist, or I'm a marketer who happened to end up in dentistry. I think that's awesome. So, and I think you've got it nailed. I think you've got it nailed because you spent so much time and energy really working this out. It's not because you just came out of the womb knowing all this stuff. You've really gone through the ringer to figure all this stuff out. So I want to start with, first of all, let's start with the dentistry part of it, and then we'll get into the marketing part. How or why did you get into dentistry? Was it family history? I think you said your dad was a pilot, so that's not it. How'd you end up in dentistry?
So I actually thought I was going to be a physician. I think a lot of dentists, when coming into school around the time I did, med school was an option. And I actually started working in the hospital, working with physicians. And I recognized that although I loved science and working with my hands, that this lifestyle wasn't very conducive. Number one, I didn't want to deal with life and death. And number two, being on call and leaving in the middle of the night didn't seem like the quality of life I wanted to do. So I started working in my local dentist office, and I said, man, this fills a lot of boats for me, right? He's got a great balance of quality of life. He's a great family man. He's always home for dinner versus leaving in the middle of the night for on-call emergencies. Wasn't taking on-call at night, and so, and still very scientific, but working with your hands. And working with your hands was always something I wanted to do. So in dentistry, I just found that I had one of my knacks was really a more gravitationally, I guess I was pulled more towards the cosmetic aspect and not so much surgical or, endodontics or something. So that's where I have spent the majority of my career is in that craft or that
cool.
portion.
So in those early years, you were building this thing. I know you started from scratch. You didn't buy somebody else's dream or nightmare. Mm-hmm. And you built from scratch. What were you learning about marketing in those early years? Holy crap, I need patients. I got to pay my bills. What were you learning about marketing in the early years of building your practice?
Yeah, so I've kind of said before, like starting a fee-for-service practice from scratch is, I don't think I'd have the gumption to do that now, right? Knowing what I know, just because ignorance was bliss. But marketing has changed so much between 2004 and the way it is now, and I can kind of walk through a little bit of that evolution of how it was so different. But, I made myself a student of learning SEO and learning website design and learning, being a huge advocate in before and after pictures, and really just kind of propping myself up online and kind of faking it before I've made it, if you will, even way back when, right? Because I was young and I was on my own, and I needed to get eyeballs and attention. And that's something I want to talk about later is, now I just focus on what I call attention-based marketing, but that's kind of, we'll earmark that for down the way. But Chuck, it was so different back then. The internet was still newish, 2004. It wasn't kind of the entire economy like it seems like it is now. And you were able, back then, to kind of gamify and spam your way and kind of win the operation just by learning some hacks and techniques, because Google's algorithm was far less advanced. So I got on the boards and those programming, it's called white hat, not black hat, but there's white hat techniques that, I was getting on the chat board with these nerdy guys and making friends with them. Like, how can I make my website be number one in almost everything I'm doing? Uh-huh. And I knew that if I could capture attention, that I could capture market share.
Okay.
And so, not to bore you with the story, but, I really just, I started seeing little success, little hints of success, and I would double down, and then it would get me excited that, holy cow, this is working. And I think everyone telling me that I was going to fail in my startup fee for service practice was like even more energy. Like I had something to prove.
Yeah. Yeah.
And believe it or not, the person I left, my associateship, she told me I was going to fail as well. So it was like, I can't thank her enough for those words of saying that to me, because like whenever I would get tired and it would be 10 o'clock at night, and I knew I had a full patient load the next day, I would kind of write that down. Like, you're going to fail, you're going to fail. And it would just like fire me up like Rocky Balboa. Right. And, in the gym. So, a little bit weird there, I know, but my point is that I've been committed to the process. I've never once, even in my, 17 years of being a quote unquote marketing, I've never once said to myself, all right, I've got this figured out, it's time to coast. Right. I've continually dedicated myself. I actually watched videos this morning on it, on current marketing, because there is no such thing as coasting.
Yeah, only the curious survive. As soon as we think we've got this figured out, we're in trouble. We're
dead. You need to stop. You need to stop. Honestly, I tell people that the minute you think you have dentistry licked, I tell the other dentists this: if you're bored or you think you have it mastered, quit. Because what kind of a sentence would that be where you're not inspired to create? You're not, there's no innovation going on. Like, stop. You're not doing anyone a service.
Yeah, you're not alive. There's nothing left there.
No.
Yeah, go find something else that brings you back to life. So what are some of those things in today's world that you've learned that you can pull into the future today? What are some of those foundational things that are some of those things that are foundational to great dental marketing?
Yeah, so I think marketing is, I think the term of the marketing back in 2004 that I was referencing, the gamified, the spammy, the inauthentic, I can pay my way to the top, I think is dead. Those days are over. I think that the marketplace,
gotten too good at capturing it. Yeah.
Well, no, I think the public has gotten smarter with the advent of Amazons and stuff. I think there's a lot of social meritocracy, meaning that you can't pay your way to, if you have a shitty product and you're a shitty dentist and you're this and that,
you're going to get found out.
Yeah. Like, you know what? Like, the internet will expose you, and you will be exposed for the fraud that you are. Right. So, you have to be authentic in this day and age. And I think that's where, like I said, I think that's where the Amazons, and there's just like, I call it the social meritocracy, where you're forced to do well and do good by, in your community, and be obsessed with kind of the value creation of just like, am I doing well by my patients? Am I doing better than them down the street? Am I, all these things, and you ask yourself that. Yeah. So it's different. So the marketing now is different. And I'll now pick up the attention-based marketing, but I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. And not all of what he says, but from a marketing philosophical standpoint, I totally agree with him. And a lot of what I talk about at the summit coming up, because I kind of handle the marketing, is the attention-based marketing. And so I am obsessed with, I'm just going to pick up my phone. I'm obsessed with marketing on this thing. Okay. Because if you ever walk through an airport, Chuck, I do this every time I go through an airport, and I tell people this when I'm on stage. I think it's hilarious. Walk through an airport and look at people's heads. No one is talking to each other, and no one is reading. They are in their phone. So you can't convert. You can't tell someone, you can't convince someone of what you do. You can't tell them, look at how pretty you are. If you can't get their attention, you lose. And so that's why I'm obsessed with getting attention. I think that's where social media plays such a giant part in the advertising, quote unquote, the advertising. So I do the organic social media a lot. I do a lot of paid ads via the social platforms and search platforms. I do a lot of ad retargeting now, just to kind of, bring up the relevancy as someone's looking for, I think marketing is all about timing sometimes, showing up when someone's kind of looking. And then really, this is something Craig and I talk about, is really just finding ways to amplify the practice and the culture that we've really so proud of, the fun we're having at work, because people want to be patients of practices that look like they're genuinely having fun. Like, work is a blissful place to be. I want to be a part of that practice, versus Mrs. Grumpy Pants that's over there not enjoying her job. And it transcends into the way that you treat the patients. And everyone picks up on that these days. So I think there's a synergistic web of, the social and the cultural and, all these things that we talk about, and being the modern day marketing.
I think you've picked up on a number of things there that are important to review. One is the idea of letting your culture speak through to get people's attention, letting your practice itself and getting the people involved. I know Craig, I'm on his Facebook page, and we see people from the practice posting all the time on their own volition. And I know you've said in the past that you shouldn't outsource your social media. I think this gives us some of the insights that, but play into that. Why do you have it internally? Why don't you?
Well, it's funny. All right. So I want to tell you a funny story. So I remember being on stage, literally in marketing, on stage doing a presentation in 2008. And I was full of myself. And I remember saying to the audience, social media has no place in dentistry.
That's awesome.
And so, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, like, history will either prove you right or wrong. And in that case, I wish I had that on film, because I think I would love to eat that humble pie right now and just say, what the heck was I talking about? So, because I just didn't believe it. And the reason I didn't believe it back then, Chuck, is because it was being done so poorly, in my opinion. Yeah. And people were just looking for the checkbox to say, I do. Literally, people would say, I do social media.
I do social media. It's an activity.
And so how can I outsource that out to check that box off?
Right.
And that literally just nauseates me at my core, because social media is designed to be an escape for people. It's an entertainment thing. And I always say that, Craig and I always talk about this, is that, like, if you're not creating value, and I know I've said value a lot of times in this, but you're not creating value, you're not making someone laugh, you're not educating them, you're not doing something, you're not showing, the culture of your practice, then people actually get a little bit angry at that, because you just stole seconds of their time in their entertainment time.
Yeah.
So I know I got off track from your initial question, but
no, not at all. It's about bringing it inside and knowing that it has to be authentic.
Yeah. So you can't outsource it. So yes, there you go. So if the reason I say that I personally don't think you can outsource it is because it has to be the heartbeat of what's going on, and then the granular operations. You can't catch the cool organic stuff that's happening in your office. Yeah. Where if you're in California and your social media, the social media company is in, New York, like, how is that going to happen?
Right.
And so I think that's the beauty of social media. I think that's the power. And so, just like you said, Craig's folks are emboldened to capture and pull out their phone and take videos and take pictures with their patients, just as my team is, right? Like, I want to see the engagement, and I want to then amplify that engagement. And I actually will do a lot of organic posts, Chuck, and I almost boost almost every post, because I'm proud of what we put out and I want the rest of the world to see. So even on my organic stuff, I will just boost it, right? Why not get some more eyeballs and attention on the things that we're doing?
Well, and the thing and few people know is that right now, and probably only for a very short period of time in the future, social media advertising is obscenely underpriced. Mm-hmm. And I think they're figuring that out. I think within 12 to 18 months, it's going to hit the wall.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there may be a longer runway than that. But yeah, when you have a $2 CPM, you almost get a little bit uncomfortable with that, right? And so for those of you who don't know what a CPM is, it's basically the cost per 1,000 eyeballs, right? And so when you can get 1,000 eyeballs on your stuff for $2, you're right. That is one of the lowest CPM. Radio and TV are up in the $60, $70 range per CPM. So I agree with you. I think other people will pick up on it, Chuck. I think we've got a longer runway, because it's just, I think it's we're only in kind of the first couple innings of it, but yes, it's the easy button right now in marketing, especially when you're creating cool content. And content creation is the key. You don't just want to get eyeballs on stuff that's not fast, really cool. You want to, be obsessed with content creation and almost kind of treat your practice like a digital marketing agency. I know that's a stretch, but literally, like, if you can transform your practice mentality and saying, like, we're a digital marketing agency that does dentistry, and just try that on for size and really become obsessed with showing people what you do.
So I want to go back for a second and get the the artist, the dentist who is an artist who has unbelievably beautiful margins and incredible dentistry. I want to get him back engaged here because he has punched out at this point saying, this is all about some kind of scam and all this stuff. I'll put my own bias out there. The number one best thing when people say, what is the best thing you can do? What is the best marketing opportunity you have? And the answer is deliver an incredible service. Be really good at what you do. All of that marketing you did early on and all that marketing you've done since then would be of no value if those people weren't then coming back and being retained and referring and all that. So I just want people to understand, if you are a great dentist, all the more reason to do marketing because you'll have more opportunity for people to see your great and experience your great dentistry.
Absolutely. And to that person, you're saying that the technical perfect margin, dentist, I think that's okay too. I think one of the things that we miss as dentists is self-awareness. And I think being authentic with what your highest and best use is very important. Don't be the circle in the square and say, that don't be the person that loves to be the engineer craftsman and then all of a sudden think that you're going to be this, you're going to live outside of your lane and become this master marketer because you think you're going to make more money there. Stay in your highest and best use.
Somebody else in your practice can fill that.
Should do that, right? But you have to be aware. You have to really have a lot of self-awareness and what's going to fulfill you day to day. Because if you told me that I had to do, something different than what I'm doing now, I would become depressed. Right. Yeah. And so it's the freedom of staying in my highest and best use. And that's where I'm in that flow. I forget the author. He's a Russian guy, but the book, That Flow, where you're in your flow, like time almost just either stands still or goes super fast because you just lose track of it. And I think that's when you're in fulfillment.
And I think this, to me, is the essence of leadership. Leadership is not getting things done. Leadership is making sure things get done. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to be the great marketer. If you hear this and you're the artist and you say, this stuff doesn't interest me at all, but I understand that if I get more people through my practice, they'll experience my artistry. Well, then go find somebody else who really would love to bring people into your practice and bring them into your practice. Have them be part of your front desk, but then part of their function and their role and responsibility is to crank out the social media. Get somebody else to do it. Just make sure stuff gets done. You don't have to do it.
Gets done, right? Like be aware enough of the 30,000 foot view of knowing, like, don't put your head in the sand and say, I don't do that.
Right.
Like be aware and slightly educate yourself on things that you need to know, but you don't need to become the master in that. But learn a little bit about marketing here, learn a little bit about how to read a P&L, learn a little bit about, lowering expenditures. But if that's not where you want to live, you can offsource, but you still have to have the basic knowledge so that you can either talk to your team about who's going to do it, or if you're going to outsource it to contractors, don't be ignorant in your conversation, so they might take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Something you said, Chuck, I want to hit the pause there because something you've taught me very much. You said the leadership thing, and it's really resonated with me, and I've played it in my head several times since I heard you say it at the Get Off the Treadmill Summit. Was leadership is more about pulling than pushing, right? It's not let me push you into doing something. That's not leadership, right? That's a dictatorship. But literally, I'm going to pull you to the top, and I'm going to pull you to greatness. Is just, that's been something that's really made a difference in my day to day. So I want to thank you for that.
You bet. That's a passion of ours, is to get that thing turned around so that we're doing it right. Mm-hmm. All right. So maybe we got the artists back involved here, because they need to understand that they don't have to get this done, but it has to happen. There's lots of things that happen in our business and in our practice that we don't need to even like. They just need to let's make sure they get done by somebody who does like them. That's part of getting off the treadmills. Do the stuff you're good at and figure out what else you're not good at. Get somebody else to do that. Where's the head trash? What do dentists and dental practice owners misunderstand most about marketing their practice? What are some things you hear on a regular basis that is head trash, or just, whoa, you're just going the wrong way there, buddy?
Yeah, I think it's intimidating for a lot of dentists because they think they have to do all things, right? And they have to do all things complete, right? And it's like, and I kind of tell people, if you don't have your toes in the water, then find one area and really kind of double down on that and become good at that. Don't spread yourself thin. Go deep rather than wide first, and say, all right, well, you know what? We're going to become really good at video content creation for whatever, right? On this narrow subject of what we love to do. So again, going back to what you're saying, the elephant and the bite size, don't look at like all the possibilities of advertising.
Right.
Find out what you think might work for you and really become good at that. And then once you've kind of quote unquote mastered that, or feel like you have the bandwidth to go to the next, then go to the next, and then go to the next, because there's always things that you can innovate and market with.
But I think what I hear throughout this whole thing is social media. Let's not be thinking about our major focus being radio, newspaper, magazines, that kind of stuff. That's head trash. I think that's leftover ideas about what used to work.
Yeah, and social media, like it's free.
Yeah,
if done right. Like, yes, you can boost ads and you get paid, but like creating awesome channels and content is free, and also getting into your patients' feeds. And that's what I always tell Craig. I said that's the holy grail of advertising, is getting into those people's feeds, right? Because you have all these patients and all these little macro and micro influencers that are coming in your practice. Like, leverage them, get a picture with them, let them show the world that they're your dentist. That you're their dentist.
Yeah, that's
right?
it.
There you go. So, we need to leverage that. And I think we do a bad job of talking about that.
Yeah. All right. So this is interesting to me. This is a marketing thing. You bought a practice in North Georgia. You're a fee for service. You got 3 locations that are fee for service. You bought a practice in North Georgia that you didn't ever plan on practicing in. It's not a fee for service. It's an insurance-based model. And at the time you bought it, from what I understand, it wasn't exactly killing it. So what did you see in that practice that made you want to jump in? Because now it's you're killing it, or maybe it was doing well, but what did you see that made you want to do something that seemed to be outside of your focus?
Yeah, so it's a great question. The opportunity came, and I won't bore you with the details, but basically it was owned by a non-dentist. I had been exposed to this practice. I really, in my due diligence, really got to like the people who worked there. But the practice was kind of struggling. It was 2 hours away. It's 2 hours away from where I live. And Chuck, I really felt like it was one of those opportunities where I was like, okay, I talk a big game, but do I have the chops to back it up and acquire this practice, apply my systems, and turn it around? Uh-huh. And so I was like, this is my own. It's either, blank or get off the pot. And so it was my, I really wanted to double down and see if I had the chops to do it. And so all I really did is I acquired the practice, and I slowly changed things one piece at a time. I didn't go in with a wrecking ball and say, all these things are new and et cetera. I slowly applied what I had figured out had worked in my practice, and then slowly overlaid some of the same system, methodology on top of the practice to slowly create the wins, whether that was the bonus system that we have, and really kind of, and encouraging the team to partake in the growth that was there. And I knew I had to do it right, because honestly, it was never my intention to practice there. I bought it as an investor. Yes, I'm a dentist, but I bought it as an investor because from a proximity standpoint, I could not go do more dentistry. Sure. And I couldn't, so it was a nice, it was a nice test for me to see if I really could get it done. And I'm glad to report, in hindsight, it was one of the smartest career moves I've ever made, because I acquired an underperforming asset, and I changed a lot of lives in the process. Like, the team is better and bigger and stronger than it was when it was owned previously. And it's a highly profitable office. Awesome. So it's a good story. And honestly, I tell my dad, and my dad's one of my kind of business coaches and stuff. I said, if I could get 10 more, I would, because I really enjoyed the creation process and the reversal of that culture, and really kind of applying what I've learned over the test kitchen of 15 years to that practice. And it's been fun. It's been fun.
Well, we don't have time for it today. We're out of time, but I'd love to have you back at some time to talk about that, because what you're applying there is core to what my second book was all about. And my third book is called Rehumanizing Dentistry by Giving Everybody Their Brain Back. Mm-hmm. You have to have gone into that thing assuming that people have brains and that this thing can actually work without you having to be there. And that's a mindset shift for a lot of us who think, if I'm not there, this won't work. Right. So I think, that'll be a fun topic for another day.
I'd like that.
To deal with that head trash. So let's end up a little bit here with your Bulletproof Dental Summit. You've got the Bulletproof Practice book. If people want to buy that, it's on Amazon. And I've read it. It's a great read. You should read that because it's a practical, tactical read from two dentists who are actually doing this stuff. They're not barking about theories. But give us an update on the Bulletproof Dental Summit and where you're going with that.
Yeah, probably by the time of the published, the book will be out. As of today, it's not in Amazon yet, but it should be literally any day now. I mean that like maybe by, a couple of days from now. So it was really a passion of love. Craig and I always wanted to write a book. It was pitched to us as like, it'll be really easy. And holy cow, Chuck, it took a year of revisions and like, it's crazy. I don't know if I'll do it again. I can check that one off my list, but it was fun and it was nice to kind of have a record. So the book it's a short read. I am really proud of it. I've read it again and I'm like, wow, this is a really good book. And maybe I'm a little biased, but I'm really proud of it. And I think it'll be I think it'll help a lot of people. Kind of just even the stuff we talked about. The second thing you mentioned is the summit is, from in October 11th through 13th at the St. Regis in Atlanta. And we're limiting it to 70 people. I think there's only about 10 tickets left and we wanted to keep it small and intimate because we wanted to create that mastermind. This is truly a summit, Chuck, that we're leaving it. We're giving it all on the table. Greg and I are giving a ton of secrets. All the speakers are giving a ton of secrets. It's not a lead generation for buy this or buy that, consulting or marketing. We don't have those services to offer. It's truly to just create value to the people who have been loyal listeners to us. And it's been our altruism in the profession.
Very cool. So they can just search for Bulletproof Dental.
The Bulletproof Summit is, so I created a little a URL that is just a redirect URL. So you go to bulletproofsummit.com and it'll redirect you to the page for the registration. You can look at the videos that Craig and I have created.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Boulden, it's been great to have you on today. We'll look forward to having you back. Let's keep going and keep changing dentistry, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks, Chuck. I enjoyed it. Take care, bud.
You bet. If this podcast was helpful, please subscribe by computer or by phone, or connect with us at www.gottsummit.com, 2 T's, GOTT summit.com. That stands for Get Off the Treadmill. We have those summits quarterly for dental practitioners only. Or connect with us at www.chuckblakeman.com or email us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Let's get off that treadmill. Let's get into the participation age. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thanks.